morning, good morning, good morning. It is July 15th. I had to think about that for a second. July 15th already. Oh my goodness. And I'm here to do a market update for Cathedral City. My name is Jason Allen. I'm a realtor based in Palm Springs, California. My brokerage is Keller Williams Luxury Homes. And I'm going to pull up the chart. We're going to dive right into the numbers. As I like to do, here we are at the Desert Housing Report and this beautiful picture of the San Jacinto Mountains over a golf course. And for those that are unfamiliar with the area, Cathedral City just sits just to the east of Palm Springs. I always like to point out this is the 10 freeway. This is the 111, which down here at the south end of Cathedral City is where their city center is, we'll say, their city hall, the Mary Pickford Theater, the CV Rep. There's actually a lot going on there. There's some new construction that's actually occurring on the 111 right in Cathedral City. And then we're going to look very quickly at the sales recovery chart, and this will make more sense as I go later into the charts. If you say that we had this sort of equilibrium, if there was this baseline, you can see pre-pandemic, we were a little bit above it. Then we took a big dip as soon as the pandemic started, and then shot way up above our normal. And we've been gradually coming down since then. And now we're kind of in this point. We're about 23% valley wide under what our baseline is. So sales have definitely slowed, certainly compared to the high water mark of COVID, and then definitely under our sales normal. And then on this summary page, I pause for just a moment. You can pause your video, read each of these notes. I'll do that again at the very end. And now I'm going to move on. And we're going to look at prices. So what we do in this chart, or among these charts, is look at a couple different things, a couple different ways. First of all, we look at the whole valley to see what the health of the valley is. And that information doesn't change from week to week when I do these reports. And then we're going to look at median and average. And we do that to pick something that remains constant in terms of how we calculate it. And so we can see what the overall health is. As I always say, each individual property and its pricing and its situation is unique. So don't necessarily extrapolate that your property that you're after or the house that you want to sell is going to perfectly align to these numbers. But it does give you a sense of overall health. So within the Coachella Valley, the median detached home price is $690, where it was a year ago. It's $695 now. So you do see that the market has increased on the median. A median, by the way, is the house price right in the center. Half of the home sold above that, half below. And this is detached. So that's your single family home in an HOA or not in an HOA. It doesn't really matter. And then also very quickly, you can see that in the long haul, if we go back to almost 2000, here we are, 2003, there's been on average a 5.5% growth. Now, clearly, we had this period here during the Great Recession. But look, if you've bought a home at any time since then, except for perhaps within the last couple of years, you're doing okay. Even though this is going down, you're still doing okay. So that's a comment directly relating to sellers who want to sell their home. They have equity. And for those that are buying, just understand that buying a house is like planting a tree. You got to do it yesterday. And then over time, it will get bigger and bigger. And now we're going to look at the median attached. These are your condos, townhouses, anything with a shared wall. These are almost always in an HOA. And it's unchanged valley-wide. The median is unchanged valley-wide year over year. 475 a year ago, 475 today. And now we're going to go into Cathedral City specifically, and here we're going to look at averages. So we're going to break this into the average detached home and the average attached home. The average detached home runs about $585,000 in Cathedral City, roughly 1,800 square feet. And if you compare that to a year ago, 5.4% increase. If you look at it from the low of 11 and 12, you're at a 281% increase. Now, for attached homes, however, the story isn't quite as rosy in Cathedral City. The average attached home or condominium there is 1,250 square feet, selling it at about 335. A year ago, that same house would have sold 345. So it's down 3.1%. However, if you look at the overall trajectory from the low point of 11 and 12, you're at 300 and almost 315% increase. All right, let's look at the detached, attached overall model, sales volume. So here we have all up here at 739. We have detached at 499 and we have attached at 240. And this is essentially monthly sales, a rolling 3-month average. They use a 3-month average to account for significant blips in the market. But you can see that overall sales, there are fewer sales. That's a better way of putting it. There are fewer sales compared to a year ago, but more sales compared to less than a year ago. Now we look at the home sales by city, and you can see in Cathedral City, you had 47 units in June. You had 53 units a year ago, June. But that, again, that's a 3-month rolling average. So we do have fewer sales. What is that? 10%? A little bit more than 10%. It's not significant. There are still houses being sold. And then what we do on this chart is we look at the price bracket. Now, I'm selecting these. This is valley-wide, but I'm selecting these based on this chart. So 585 for your detached, 335 for your attached. That falls into these two price brackets. And you can see that in the higher price bracket, more were sold this June valley-wide. More were sold last June in the lower price bracket. Now, some of this could be attributed to the higher interest rates. Presumably, someone buying at a lower price point either is cutting it close in terms of monthly costs, and so they're not necessarily wanting to take on a mortgage. Or what we find, since about half of our market is a second home, people don't really want to stretch for a second home the way they might have when prices were a lot better. All right, let's go down to inventory and months of sales ratio. So valley-wide, the overall inventory valley-wide last month, 2,464 homes. At our high water mark before the COVID pandemic, we had about 4,000 homes on the market. What does this mean? What are we going to do with this? We're going to break it down by city and say, if no new inventory came on the market, how long would it take us to sell what we have? And so in Cathedral City, one thing we're aware of is that we have 23% more inventory this year compared to last year. So that's all homes involved. This year in June, we had 153 homes. If we go up here and we look at this chart, we see we're absorbing about 47 a month. At least that's what we did last month, but that's a rolling average. So we'll say 47 just to kind of keep it simple and clean. And this is the chart we want to look at now, which is, that means we have about 3.5 months of inventory, almost 3.5 months of inventory today, as compared to just over 2 months of inventory a year ago. So significantly more houses for sale, but that just means that buyers have more to choose from. It also means that sellers have less leverage when it comes to selling their home. For example, if you live in a development and you're selling your home, and your home is a Model A and there are 2 other Model A's for sale in the same development, your price is going to be pegged to what they're doing. Is yours better or worse? Better view, better condition, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Month of sales by price bracket. Now, if we drill down a little bit, if you're in the lower end price bracket, you've got about 3 months. And that's true actually in the higher price bracket in Cathedral City, if you look at the overall valley. And now, why do we do this? Because if I'm indifferent about which city I live in, I don't have children, I just want to buy a nice house here, and I'm going to be able to afford about $550,000, I might be looking in Cathedral City in certain neighborhoods. I might be willing to go into a condo in Rancho Mirage, for example. So it's important to look at this because it says you as a buyer have more choices, and Mr. and Miss Seller, you also have to be aware that there is more competition on the market for those individual buyers. Excuse me. And then if we look at Cathedral City, we can see that you are on the market slightly longer, not significantly. It's taking about a month to sell a home in Cathedral City. And this days in market, days on market, you can see this in the MLS when you use various search tools like realtor.com. And then if we look at it by price bracket, so this is overall market, and then this is breaking it down valley-wide by price bracket. And you can see in these specific price brackets, it's a little bit longer. So you have to anticipate that as a homeowner that is selling your property, that it's not going to be a 2 or 3 day on the market unless your price is fantastic or you're offering something that every buyer wants. I can tell you right now, every buyer seems to want a house that's move-in ready without any need to do any work. And then if we look at the average selling discount by city, Cathedral City is less than 1%, which tells me that sellers have become very aware of what they should be asking for their home and not deviating from that significantly. And buyers are recognizing the value in that price. But even if you look overall valley-wide, the averages are still very close to their asking. Bermuda Dunes, okay, you're 4% off of your asking price, but I don't know, 1% off of a $500,000 house is $5,000. It's real money, but it's not a 20% discount. It's not a 10% discount. It's not even a 5% on average. Not even in Bermuda Dunes, you're at 4.2%. So the health of the market is there. Buyers and sellers are aligned on what the value of the property is. I like that. And then if we go to the average selling discount by price bracket, you can see it's slightly more than the Cathedral City average, but not significantly. And when you get over $2 million, you're still talking about 4%. That does not necessarily align to Bermuda Dunes. Bermuda Dunes does not have $2 million properties as far as I know. Maybe there's something somewhere. And then percent of homes selling over list price, you do still have 15%, almost 15% of the market valley-wide that is selling over the asking price. So that is impacting these averages. That's bringing these averages down. Why would that be? A house that perhaps was manipulatively priced when it was initially launched. Perhaps it's a home that is so desirable on so many levels that more than one person is willing to offer significantly more for it. Kind of that bidding competition sort of thing that's going on. But it's important to understand that it's this that's bringing up those other averages or bringing up those averages. So this is the last page. It's got some additional explanation. You're welcome to pause your video, take a look at that. And then from there, I'm going to stop sharing and close by saying have a magnificent week. As always, feel free to call me if you have specific questions about a home you're interested in. And then to remind you that we are still in flux in the industry. There are going to be some dramatic changes that come up. Buyers have to be aware that they're soon going to have to sign a buyer broker agreement and obligate themselves to paying their broker for representation. Will the buyer be able to recoup some of those expenses from the seller? That's going to be a case-by-case experience. I can't say that you're going to always get your money, but we're all figuring it out as we go along, since the Department of Justice is still reviewing the proposed settlement. That's all I've got today. Thanks. Have a great week. Bye.